Good morning. Please, yes, thank you. Let us arise in body or spirit for our gathering hymn, which is in number 360 in the gray hymnal. Here we have gathered, number 360 in the gray hymnal. Here we have gathered side by side, circle of kinship, come and step inside. May all who seek here find a kindly word. May all who speak here feel they have been heard. Sing now together this our heart's own song. Here we have gathered, called to celebrate days of our lifetime, matters small and great. We of all ages, women, children, men, infants and sages, sharing what we can, sing now together this our heart's own song. Life has its battles, sorrows and regret, but in the shadows let us not forget. We who now gather know each other's pain. Kindness can heal us. As we give, we gain. Sing now in friendship this our heart's own song. Please be seated. Welcome into this sanctuary. Come into this house of worship. Come in and find peace and rest, inspiration and aspiration, fellowship and love. Come in and find light for your darkness, a friend's touch for all the blessings that are yours this day. Let's take a moment to acknowledge our online viewers by waving at that camera over there. Howdy out there. And I know that you're very social this morning, but let's do it again and take a look around you and find an unfamiliar face and greet them. Create a house of welcome. And after the service, please join in the fellowship in the fellowship hall through those doors and to the left. I'm going to send out a special request that during the summer. It's sort of a volunteer thing. It's a spontaneous act of generosity. Helps set up the refreshments and coffee. So for those that know how to do that, and maybe someone who doesn't know how to do it, sometime during the service, go do it. Apparently, it's a little bit sparse right now, but go in there and enjoy at least your company and conversation. Get to know each other. Real community grows when we share our cares, our interests, and especially our good humor. If you are wondering what this UU congregation is about, will you take a look at your order of service and find the affirmation where the words are printed, and let's read it together aloud. Love is our doctrine, compassion is our way. Here we seek to create a joyful home for free religious exploration. Build a community of caring fellowship, nurture the hopes, and serve the needs of our world. And now we will light the chalices with Marcia's help. Each week we light 3 chalices. The first is for the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Salem. The second chalice, yes, that one, is for our partner church in Šiman-Falva, Transylvania, Romania. It's like Unitarians like a lot of syllables. There we go. And the third chalice is for our children and youth in religious education and around the world. They are the light to the future. Thank you, Marcia. When the summer sun rises, it is greeted with both awe of its life-giving force and wariness because it can scorch and burn with its intensity. Let these tiny fragments of flame remind us that we have the potential to create balance, beauty, and hope, even in harsh conditions. So let us sing the flames into life. The words are in the order of service. Rise up, O flame, by thy light glowing, show to us beauty, vision, and joy. Gratitude and compassion are often intertwined. My husband and I took a road trip to Montana a couple weeks ago. We stopped overnight in a city in Washington state where I was excited to visit the Riverfront Park, noted for its creative public art, river rapids, and walking and biking paths. Yes, I saw it all. It was beautiful. I enjoyed the fusion of man-made with natural beauty. I was grateful for it. But sadness seeped into the picture, and compassion, loads of it, was needed for an adjacent community, a large visible population of young adult addicts who live on the streets and in this park. The city, like so many, has been hard hit with the fentanyl scourge. To a temporary visitor like me, it was difficult to see compassion expressed on the streets or in the park. Mostly people ignored that person curled up on the walkway with a jacket over their head. But with a little bit of digging, I found some articles by investigative journalists who gave explanations for this crisis, in particular there in that city, and described the many resources that have been developed and are offered to help these folks find hope and a more generous future than a bit of concrete and their next high. And for these, I was grateful. Take a moment to reflect on an experience where compassion and gratitude tugged at your heart.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Margaret Gregg, and I'm one of the Lifelines members. We've got a bunch of joys and sorrows today. And we're getting caught up with apologies to Danelle Shearer, who left a message last week that got overlooked. My adorable niece Sawyer turns 2 years old. Congratulations. And then we move on to this week. Ann Moore shares a concern. Marnie Jeffers had a fall on Wednesday. She had a concussion, broke 7 ribs and her collarbone. Not fun. She's at Salem Hospital and will be in physical rehab before she's released. Her room may change. Contact the hospital for the number. Marnie, if you're watching, we're thinking of you. Adina shares, today is the first anniversary of the death of my mother, Rita Reeve. In honor of her life and thanks for your support, I brought her favorite snacks for coffee hour. So hopefully we'll have some coffee to go with that. And thank you, Adina. Online, we got a sorrow from Spencer Wharton. My friend Jack, an activist, was just arrested by federal agents in Spokane. My heart is heavy for them, their family, and all our neighbors who are living under the terror of the state. That's not an easy one. Mika Wieser has a joy. Last Friday, my son Brendan and his wife welcomed their first child, a boy. Everyone is healthy and the baby is beautiful. Brendan grew up in this UU congregation and some may remember him. Congratulations, Mika. And then we have a concern from Eli O'Sullivan. I'm an LGBTQ individual with no job who's facing houselessness in the next month. I've tried everything and I don't know what to do. This is hard times and this is what Lifelines is here for, to give you comfort and maybe a bit of advice. If you're here today, Eli, meet us after the service. And we wish you good luck. And then finally, we light one more candle for all those joys and sorrows felt in our hearts that remain unspoken. And today we have compassionate connection after the service, and we're here to meet up front and then find a spot where we can go and talk to anyone who has concerns that they want to share. In the meantime, have a great week. See you next Sunday.
Remain seated for our heart song, number 95 in the gray hymnal, 95. There is more love somewhere. And we'll do verses 1 and 2. There is more love somewhere. more hope somewhere. There is more hope somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more hope somewhere. This is a reading from Meditations by David White. The title is Loneliness. Loneliness is the doorway to unspoken and yet unspecified desire. In the bodily plan of aloneness is the first step to understanding how far we are from a real friendship, from a proper work, or a long-sought love. Loneliness can be a prison, a place from which we look out at a world we cannot inhabit. Loneliness can be a bodily ache and a penance. But loneliness, fully inhabited, also becomes the voice that asks and calls for that great unknown someone or something we want to call our own. Loneliness is the very state that births the courage to continue calling, and when fully lived, can undergo its own beautiful reversal. Loneliness is the substrate and foundation of belonging, the gravitational field that draws us home, the hand reaching out for togetherness. To allow ourselves to feel fully alone is to allow ourselves to understand the particular nature of our solitary incarnation. To make aloneness a friend is to apprentice ourselves to the foundation from which we make our invitation to others. To feel alone is to face the truth of our singularity, a singularity that can kiss, create a conversation, make a vow, and forge a shared life. In the world or community, this essential singularity joins with others through vision, intellect, and ideas to make a society.
I'm always so nervous when I do this. I'd rather be over there with the guitar. Have you ever experienced feeling lonely when you're in a group of people? Like even people you love, people you chose to be with. And have you ever wondered why you felt that way? And sometimes had you maybe made an extra effort to fit in by acting and speaking in group-accepted ways, hoping then you'd feel accepted and be a part of the group, but you still felt separate. Well, I've had this experience. Yeah, I went to 2 new schools in 5th grade and then went to middle school where I was with a bunch of new kids, but I met my BFF there and we saw the Beatles together. That's a very bonding experience. Anyway, I tried out for junior high school choir and I didn't make it. Are you kidding? my BFF, who barely could match pitch, she got in. Go figure. I never tried out for another school-sponsored thing ever again. And after 9th grade, we moved, so I was at a new high school in 10th grade. I was the new girl again, feeling like an outsider. I became a rebel. Who's surprised? Let's see, where is that last word? The guitarist, I became the guitarist who poo-pooed school music programs. But by my senior year, I was opening for school assemblies for the school principal. I was voted most talented of my very large high school senior class, but I still felt like an outsider, like a rolling stone, a complete unknown. And leaving high school, I left the Bay Area as well, and I made no attempt to keep in touch with anyone but my Beatles BFF, of course. By the way, she was voted most popular of her senior class. She was a cheerleader. She was a funny, sunny, happy person, the complete opposite of this serious, challenger, outspoken person I was becoming. After high school, I off to university where I pledged a Greek A house because this, I was sure, was going to make sure I belonged. I fit in. I felt like one of the in-group. I'd make lots of friends. I'd get to never be left out of really fun things, and I would be part of that in-group on campus. Never feel left out, never feel like I didn't belong again. It didn't work that way. And then after college, there were, new jobs, new church experiences, a new husband, and new family. But I was always the pleaser, always knocking myself out to fit in these new groups. In fact, I was so determined to fit in Napa, California, that I even started new groups for stay-at-home moms, because we found ourselves very isolated in our beautiful upscale Napa Valley homes, but with multiple small children at home. But I thought, you've got to belong when you start the group, right? You're at the center. I still almost always felt like an imposter, because in few of those groups did I feel really safe to be my authentic self, to bring her out. The problem was that even though I was viewed as a member by the other people in those groups, in my inside self had experienced rejection so deeply at other times in my life that I protected her. And by holding myself back, never fully committing, one foot always out the door, I kept myself from experiencing what I most earnestly sought, true belonging. And even within these walls, I've experienced it, and I don't think I'm alone in this. So, what is true belonging, and how does its absence leave us feeling lonely and isolated? And at this time in the world when we are so divided about our political values, our health values, our religious values, oh goodness, pick a value. We've probably divided on it. And those divisions lead to more isolation, more loneliness, more suspiciousness, and the vortex kind of sucks us in. In 2024, the CDC noted that 1 in 3 adults feel lonely, and 1 in 4 adults feel a lack of social and emotional support. In 2023, our then Surgeon General, Vivek Murthy, cited an epidemic of loneliness in this country, and the health effects are devastating. It's more dangerous to our health and well-being than obesity or smoking or even excessive drinking. Loneliness increases the likelihood of developing heart disease and stroke, type 2 diabetes, depression and anxiety, suicidality and self-harm, dementia, and early death. Loneliness, but has also carried a stigma over the years. We may feel shame about feeling lonely. We may think there must be something wrong with me. We describe criminals often as loners, like a sad condition that gets linked to bad behavior. One source I read suggested that when we find ourselves feeling this way, our brains actually go into hyper self-protection. To avoid more rejection, we actually interfere with making connection. Ooh, like, I've never done that. This leads to less empathy for others, more defensiveness, and more numbing behavior, like addictive behaviors, drugs, alcohol, too much, working 80 hours a week, or spending money, retail therapy, those kinds of things. And it can also lead to less sleeping, which has its own problems. Unchecked loneliness can fuel continued loneliness by keeping us afraid to reach out. I don't know about you, but I look around at my community, my world, I see the effects of an increasingly lonely world. And we are seeing that loneliness isn't just sad, it's dangerous. Well, some of you know, I'm just going to tell a story here. Some of you know I volunteer with Moms Demand Action. It's a legislative advocacy group dedicated to creating a safer world by passing sensible gun ownership laws. I recently attended a Senate session tracking a bill. It passed that day. But while I was waiting for the session to start, I found myself seated in the lobby area with a woman who felt compelled to speak very sharp insults to a man who was a lobbyist who had lobbied against this same bill. In fact, he'd lobbied well and hard enough against another bill that we had wanted passed that was defeated. The woman sitting next to me made some rude comments to him, to which he responded that he had asked and wanted her to please leave him alone. His tone was tension-filled, firm but respectful. I kept putting my hand on this woman's hands, asking her, please stop, please stop, please stop, speaking that way. But she continued, and her tone was taunting. He finally got away from her by getting up and just leaving the room. I continued during that to keep asking her to please be quiet. Later, we were all seated in the Senate gallery. I was seated in the row of the Moms Demand Actions. We all had our red t-shirts on. I had the state lead on my left and the local legislative lead on my right. We were all in this ocean of red t-shirts. This gentleman came to me, and he put out his hand. And as I took his hand, he told me that he wanted to thank me for being kind earlier, noting that he appreciated it. Later, I was informed of who he actually was and why it was so significant, because I could feel a lot of attention suddenly, like, why is he saying this too? Because where I was seated is what I thought at the time, but he knew who I was because of my red shirt that blasted who I was. You see, we were on opposite sides of these issues, but I believed that even given the history with our public positions on gun law bills, and I'm pretty passionate about that, even that did not give me or anyone else permission to be uncivil. It's my belief that when we become uncivil, we dehumanize the other person or group. And once that happens, we stop listening. There can be no conflict resolution or conflict transformation once we stop listening. In the research I did to write this homily, one of my very favorite stories was about how during the late 18th century in America, when the Europeans were grabbing land and more from the native tribal people, many Europeans were captured by the natives. Well, that didn't surprise me until I learned that Europeans would hide in the woods to avoid being rescued and returned to Western civilization. What? Yes, and even more, there were many instances in which Europeans ran away to join the native tribes. By the way, there's no record of that ever going the other direction. They did not want to join us. So, at first blush, you wonder, well, what was so appealing about tribal life? But then, upon deeper reflection, you find that maybe the real question is, what was so unappealing about Western society? Even Benjamin Franklin observed that white captives liberated from the Indians were almost impossible to keep at home. It was kind of a big problem at the time, actually. Well, one neuroscience researcher who has studied loneliness over a 20-year period noted this: to grow into adulthood as a social species, including humans, is not to become autonomous and solitary. It is to become the one on whom others can depend. Whether we know it or not, our brain and biology have been shaped to favor this outcome. And yet, Western society is so ripe with modern conveniences, so full of the freedom to pursue our own happiness, independent values that we celebrate in so many ways. Our Western society does not seem to celebrate interdependence. Asking for help is hard for us. It's almost it means that we may be judged as not competent, lazy, stupid, old, diseased. Add to that the violent divisiveness of our current political landscape, well, it's a hot mess. And yet, who made the clothes you're wearing? Who made the car you drove here in? Who made the tires? Who grew the food you ate for breakfast? None of us exists here without relying on others to help sustain us. But what is more interesting to consider is that many of the people who made these conveniences for us don't line up with us in our values and ideas. And what about that coworker in your office? You know, the one who's a member of the opposite political party, the one that you dislike so much? But that coworker who helped you generously that time with a difficult project on a tight timeline. Or that longtime fellow choir member, both of these things have happened to me, by the way. Or that longtime fellow choir member who became a dear friend over decades, but now you're facing polar opposite positions on LGBTQ and deportations. Do you dehumanize them with hatred now because of their beliefs? Do you realize that they may feel exactly the same way about you? Or will you recognize those good working relationships and long-time deep friendships are hard to find in a lifetime and deserve high value? Research is beginning to show that simply finding like-minded people to hang out with and separating from people who think differently does not create a sense of true belonging. By sharing disdain for another's ideas, you may think you can fit in by outwardly walking the right line, but you may continue to feel like an outsider, silencing any part of yourself that varies from that perceived line. Perhaps deep connections, true belonging, doesn't arise from shared disdain. What is true belonging? Well, the best definition I found, and I looked a lot, by the way, was from Brene Brown, as it's research-based from her own research work. She writes, "True belonging is the spiritual practice of believing in and belonging to yourself so deeply that you can share your most authentic self with the world and find sacredness in both being a part of something and standing alone in the wilderness. True belonging doesn't require you to change who you are. It requires you to be who you are." I like that. And trust me, as a professional group joiner, joining a group doesn't mean you feel like you belong. Brown further defines spirituality as recognizing and celebrating that we all are inextricably connected to each other by a power greater than all of us, and that our connection to that power and to one another is grounded in love and compassion. So let's turn now to the UU values that bring us here together this morning. At the core is love and celebrating the inherent worth of all people, an overarching theme of open welcome, and this means welcoming of the entire person with their ideas, personalities, faiths, beliefs, and practices, as each one of us would want to be welcomed. I think it would be safe to say in summation, greeting the world with compassion. More than 10 years ago, Mother Teresa said, "The greatest disease in the West today is not TB or leprosy. It's being unwanted, unloved, and uncared for. We can cure physical disease with medicine, but the only cure for loneliness is love. Brene Brown, in Braving the Wilderness, writes, "People are hard to hate close up. Move in. Speak truth to bullshit. Be civil. Hold hands with strangers. Strong back, soft front, wild heart." I love these quips, and I think about them often during the day now. As we grow in this Unitarian Universalist community, how can we truly welcome each other's authentic selves? If we can learn to do that among ourselves, those of us already here, we can create a safe space for others to join with their authentic selves. As one who has more often felt on the outside of a group, because I won't state agreement with all espoused ideas, and plus my experiences with people at work and in family who hold wildly different political views, I have discovered that what matters to me the most is not what I think about gun laws or voting outcomes, but honoring the humanness of others, them, their authentic selves, even while each of us take public positions totally opposing the other. In our quest to right the dangerous wrongs filling our daily news feeds, we must be careful to not dehumanize the people who hold different ideas from our own. Trust me, I've done it. I probably do it. In fact, I think I did it this morning. I've done more than my fair share of name calling and labeling. I've got a big vocabulary. But think for a moment, even within this building, not everyone agrees with everything espoused by the most vocal. Can we be willing to accept others holding those different ideas and recognize the inherent worth of another human? If we really want to live into the values we espouse, it means being willing to have some hard conversations with civility and compassion, and recognize that sometimes being true to and belonging to our authentic selves may mean finding ourselves alone in the wilderness. And there's a lot of good company out there, by the way, in the wilderness, but still welcomed by the larger group. As a congregation, we can focus on that most central core of UUism, love. Not just that warm, fuzzy feeling you have about people you like, but a real verb of action, loving and accepting another person even when we dislike or disagree with their viewpoints. It's being careful to not dismiss or demean another's ideas, even when we find them hard to understand. We must each bring our unique subjectives. We do this already. We bring our unique subjective selves to the party, and our own experiences and observations shape our views, but they're all different. With compassionate understanding, we can create a space where everyone really does feel they belong. And if you are fortunate to have a chance to hold hands with a stranger this morning, consider it a golden opportunity. Thank you.
Let us center ourselves by listening to and feeling our breath. Close your eyes if you wish. Relax your shoulders. Feel the bottom of your feet touching the floor. Try taking in a slow breath to the count of 4 and slowly exhaling it to the count of 6. And repeat it. Just relax and feel your breath move slowly in and out. to a time when someone shared a bit of their life story with you. It could be Marcia's story or someone else's. How did you feel? Surprised, agitated, compassionate, inspired, connected? Take a few more cleansing breaths. And as you inhale, in your mind, say, "Be kind to all beings." And as you exhale, say, "May all beings be well." This is the time of sharing our gifts. We support UUCS through your time, projects, connections, and yes, also your financial support. The Plate partner and we share the offerings always with a partner in the community. This month, it's the Oregon Black Pioneers, an all-volunteer group founded to preserve the rich historical heritage and culture of Oregon's African Americans through their historical collections and programs. And they promote scholarly research and public use. We also support the Marion Polk Food Share. So if you remembered to bring a non-perishable food item, please place it in the wagon now or out in the lobby where it's usually. Our hosts will pass the gifts bag to you. Give as generously as you feel with cash or a check made out to UUCS. And for those who are online, click on Donate. Know that your generosity strengthens the love in this community. Thank you. And now it's time to look forward to next Sunday, the Honorable Harvest, Lunasa. Thank you, Ariane and Kirkpatrick will be our homilist for next week. And in case you don't know what Lunasa is, it celebrates the first harvest and the sacrifices that are needed for a fertile future. Oh, that was a bad spoonerism. A fertile future. All right, and then news of the community. There's a lot going on, and if you are not already keyed into our newsletter, please go to the fellowship table and put your name on a list, and it will be emailed to you, or you could call the office, and for that, go online and find the office number. Okay, I just want to highlight a few announcements. On the back of your program, there are a few things that are highlighted, and today, the Trillium Cups, which is the pagan group, the UU pagan group, I like to call them tea cups. I think they did that on purpose. They're having a meeting today, a gathering at 2 p.m. in the RE Commons, which is that wing that goes that way. So please, if that is your cup of tea, join them. Let's see what else. I'm not going to read them all to you. You can look at that at your leisure. But I will just give you a little heads up so you can plan. A lot of people go traveling and just have time to reflect during the summer months. In September, on the 7th, we have a water communion. It's a tradition, and people bring in vials of water from special places they've been. It could actually just be from your garden hose, because you're grateful that you have clean water to water your garden. And we combine those waters in a lovely ceremony in a container. So just saying, you might want to think about that on your journeys, and then you have to remember to bring it on that Sunday. But it'll be highlighted again. All right, I think that's good. We're going to extinguish or say farewell to the flames. But before we do that, we're going to light the social justice lantern. Thank you, Marcia. So Marcia will transfer the light from our chalice to light the social justice lantern. And let this action help energize every act, small or large, that you take this week to spread love to yourself and to your community. And she'll extinguish those. And while she's doing that, if you can find a teal-colored hymnal, and turn to page 1010, not page, but number 1010, we are going to sing ourselves out with "We Give Thanks." 1010. Okay. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day, for gathered here and those far away, for this time we share with love and care. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day. We'll do it another time. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day, for all gathered here and those far away, for this time we share with love and care. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day. So please remain standing, and Reminder, please join us in fellowship, conversations, and refreshments in Hanneman Hall. Our closing words are in the order of service, so if you need to look at them, please do. And I think you're all holding hands, so I don't need to say that. If you're comfortable, let's do it. May faith in the spirit of life, hope for the community of earth, and love for the sacred in one another be ours now and in all the days to come. Blessed be. All righty. Remember, there is compassionate connection. If you need some compassionate connection, come up to the front.